So I'm with Paul today, and Paul has asked to see me about a pain. Is it in your knee, Paul? Do you want to tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, pretty much. It started about 2 or 3 months ago. It's a very difficult pain to. It appears to be by my kneecap, going up the muscle that joins my kneecap. It's not in the knee. It doesn't feel like it's in the knee. It's a weird thing. It's not like a pain I've ever had before. Both my knees have been bad since I was in my 20s, so 30 odd years.
Yeah.
So I've got a torn meniscus, but this is something different.
Okay. So it's not in, what is it? Does it feel like it's around the knee, or
it feels like it's on top of my kneecap? So if my wife, she rubbed my knee the other day, and it was very, very sore all around the kneecap.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to note this down. Everything we do, I'm going to note it down, and I'll send you the notes at the end.
Sure.
And this is sort of a pain on top of the kneecap.
Yeah.
And how would you rate this pain on a scale of 1 to 10?
As I'm sitting here now, 0. I went to do some PT this morning with a trainer, and I could barely bend my knee for doing lunges and stuff like that. Going upstairs, it's sore. Coming downstairs, it's worse.
Okay. Okay. So overall, it sounds like it's quite high. What, 7, 8?
I would say a 7 if it was a 0 to 10.
And if you just stand up now and walk around the room, would you feel it?
Yeah, definitely.
Could you, maybe you could do that and just register what it is, because we'll check it again at the end.
I shall walk around. Oh, that was painful getting up. So that's definitely a 7. Walking around the room, probably a 4 or 5.
Okay.
But like now I'm walking and there's very little. As if I was to squat, even bending the leg at say 120 degrees, I can feel it. I wouldn't go down to like what they call a ski squat.
Okay.
90 degrees. That just wouldn't happen.
Okay. So I'm putting, so it's about a 7 getting up, a 4 or 5 walking around the room, and you can bend to about 120 degrees, right?
Yeah, without it being painful, but anything more than that, like do a proper lunge, no.
Okay. And we'll check that again at the end to see if that's,
sure.
That's all the same. So the way I'm going to do this is to ask your subconscious mind, going to connect with you, which I'll do in a second. And then I'm going to be asking your subconscious mind some yes or no questions. Those questions are going to guide me to be able to find out what the imbalances are in the body that's causing this pain to the knee and causing this issue with the knee to persist. But before we do that, and I'll talk you through it so you can see what's going on, but before we do that, I'm going to go quiet for a moment. I'm just going to make a connection with the source, a connection with you, and then we'll be able to begin.
Okay.
So you and I are connected now, Paul. And the way that I'm asking your mind these questions is through muscle testing. Because we're connected, I can muscle test on myself. So I use this ring in ring method. And I know you're a hypnotherapist, so you probably know about this already. If it's hold strong, it's a yes. And if it pulls apart, it's a no.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask your subconscious mind, is there something we can do to help Paul have relief, have freedom from this pain and whatever's going on with his knee and the pain on the top of his kneecap? And the answer is yes. Remind me, it's the left or the right?
Right knee.
Right knee. Okay, so should we do trapped emotions first? That's often a very common thing to do because it's the emotions that get trapped that are a prime cause of the pain. So if we damage our knee, let's say we damage a knee, 2 people can damage their knee in the same way. One of them will get better quickly of their own accord. The other, it will start to become tender and start to become more and more of a problem, which it won't heal. And very often the reason behind that is there's trapped emotional energy from emotions that we've decided not to feel at the time. Effectively we've repressed the emotion, and the energy of that emotion can go anywhere in the body. It could very easily go to the knee or the top of the right kneecap, hopefully. So we're going to find out if there's any trapped emotions that could help here. And when we're working with tracked emotions, we work from a chart. And I'm going to get this chart and share it with you so you can see what the emotions are that we're working from. So I'm going to just find out, does Paul have an emotion, a trapped emotion that's causing the knee issue? And the answer is yes. We can just find out what that is. The first emotion that we found is an emotion called unsupported. It's where you feel like you're just basically not supported by the people who you want to support you. So we can release that using a very simple technique. So give me just a second to do that. So that unsupported emotion is now released. There's more, and we're going to see what else we can do. The next is grief. And for this one, sometimes we need to know a little more about the emotion. And with the grief we do, we need to know the age that you were when this grief happened. Can I ask how old you are now, Paul?
59.
59. So let's start at 30. Was Paul more than 30 when this grief happened? No. More than 20? No. More than 10? Yes. Age 12, this grief was from. Does that make any sense? Or?
Trying to think back. Can't think for the life of me what it could have been, but more ears.
Okay, we just need to release it now. Grief is released. Okay, can we release another trapped emotion to help with Paul's knee pain? Yeah. Lack of control. Now, this is an emotion that you didn't experience yourself. It's an emotion that you absorbed from another person. So sometimes when we're connected with someone or close to them, when they have an emotion, we can have that emotion ourselves, and then if we don't want to process it, we can trap it, we can repress it. Maybe they haven't even repressed it themselves, but we do. So that's all we need to know. We can release this as well now. That's been released. Is there another trapped emotion that we can release to help with the knee pain? Yes. It's shock. And for this, we don't need to know more, so let's just release it. Shock is released. There's another. Indecisiveness. And we can just release that too. And there's more. Longing. Oh, we need to know more about this. Okay, Paul, this one wasn't yours either. This was inherited from your mum. She inherited it herself from her dad, and that's where it started. So that's all we need to know. So let's release that longing. The longing is released, and often when we release an inherited trapped emotion, it's also released from anybody who inherited it from the person who originally had it. So it's a couple of generations back, so it might be a few people. And there's more trapped emotions relating to the knee. The next is worry. So for this, we need the age as well. So was Paul more than 30? Yeah, you were more than 30 on this one, more than 40. So this was in your 40s, early 40s, 44, age 44. Okay, we're going to release this now. Worry is released. So that's all for the trapped emotions. We are now going to look at a much broader set of imbalances for the rest of the session now. So now I'm going to use a series of mind maps to find what the imbalance is that's causing the knee pain. Is there an imbalance that we can release from Paul to help him with this pain in the knee? And the answer is yes. And it's an energy. So it's a mental energy, something that you've been thinking or believing. Okay, this is a type of energy called a no will. So this is where at some point in your life, you've decided, I have no will to whatever it is. The big one is no will to live. But, you know, it might be something that you just decided in a moment of weakness. It's not something you really want, but you decided it with such strength and ferocity that there's an imprint that's been left by it that's having an effect on you and possibly sabotaging you. We're going to find out what it is that you decided you had no will to do. This is interesting. No will to trust the healing power of your own body. So it's something that you decided once. I'll send you the notes at the end. I'm just making a note of everything. So with the trapped emotions, they're very simple. They're the simplest type of energy. So they come up, we find out what they are, and we just release them. We can release this no will in the same way, but because this is likely to be more complex, it's not just something that came from one emotion at one moment in time. It's likely that there are other imbalances that are holding that in place, that are behind it. So rather than just releasing what's on the surface, I always look behind these to see, you know, if we can release what's there and you know, sort of root it up by the roots, because otherwise, you know, we could release it, but if the cause is still there, it could be recreated or something equivalent could be. So we're going to ask what's behind this no will to trust the healing power of your own body. It's actually a toxin. There's some form of toxicity there. It's a heavy metal in the body. Arsenic. Okay. So we don't need to know any more about it. Sometimes we might need to know when or something about the situation, but we can just go right ahead and see what's behind that. Okay, so this one looks like it's going down a couple of levels. There's some form of misalignment in the body here behind this. It's a gland of the body. It's one of the adrenals. It's the left adrenal gland. Okay. And behind that, we have a trapped emotion. So trapped emotion is usually the bottom of the pile. So then we'll go work our way back up and clear all of the energies that we found along the way. So first we'll find out what the emotion is. It's rejection. Okay, so we can release that. That's released. Okay. But we still can't do the adrenal. We can't go back and do that because there's something else. But there's another trapped emotion behind it. Helplessness. Okay, we're releasing that. Released. Okay, so we are now going to correct the misalignment in the left adrenal gland. That's done. We're going to release the toxicity of the arsenic. That's done as well. Okay, and now we can finally release what we started with on this batch, the no will to trust the healing power of your body. That has been done. So I'm just double checking with your body now, does Paul have any remnant, any imprint of this decision, of this no will energy that he had before? No, that's completely gone now. After each batch, I ask, is it safe to continue? And it is in this case. I notice you're closing your eyes. Are you trying to tune into what we're doing, or?
Yep.
Okay. And what are you finding anything? Are you feeling anything?
No, not currently. Just it's very soothing.
Okay. So, excuse me. What else can we do to help Paul with the pain in his right knee? Okay, so there's an energetic imbalance in the body. Again, it's a gland. This time it's a gland in the brain. And it's the pituitary gland. It's the most common brain gland that comes up for other people, not for me. When I work on myself, I get a different one. But when I work on anybody else, the pituitary gland is the most common. So again, we're going to see what's behind this. There's another imbalance. It's one of the systems. Something in the immune system. It's the liver. And we have a trapped emotion behind that. It's blaming. Okay, so let's release that. Blaming is released. So now we can clear up the liver misalignment. That's done. And the pituitary gland misalignment. That's done too. Okay, so what more can we do? We can go on. What more can we do to help Paul with the pain in the right knee? Okay, so the next thing that's come up is a pathogen, but this is not a pathogen that's active in the body. It's a pathogen that you've had in the past, but it's left an energetic imprint for you. So this is the energy of a parasite, actually. And again, we have a toxin behind this. So this is a form of a drug. It's a recreational drug, and it's a stimulant. It could be anything. A stimulant could be something like coffee, nicotine, things like that. We don't usually need to know the details. Okay, yeah. So we're going to see what's behind that now, and we have a trapped emotion. Insecurity. Okay, so let's release this insecurity. We're going to release the toxin now. That's released. And we can release the parasite energy too. Okay, that's done. So we can still go on. What more can we do for Paul to help with this pain in his right knee? Okay, this time it's something to do. It's in a very broad section called lifestyle, and it's actually your magnetic field. There's a deficiency in your magnetic field. Not a huge deficiency, but it's there and it's come up, so it's something we need to address. So let's see what's causing that. So we have a pathogen again, and again it's an energetic pathogen rather than one that's active in the body at the moment. It's the energy of a virus. Okay, so let's see what's behind that. We have a misalignment behind that. It's one of the common misalignments. It's something in your back, something in the spine, and it's in the mid-back in the lower thoracic area. The T8 vertebra that's misaligned here and is having an effect on the knee. Let's see what's behind that. There's another misalignment behind that. So this is more of a detailed one. It's another common misalignment. It's the spine again. So there's a couple of vertebrae here, and this is the upper back and the upper thoracic vertebra. It's the T2. So behind that, we have an energy. So behind that, we have something called a miasm. This is from an illness. Basically, it's the body's recollection of an illness. It's basically a sickness memory. However, miasm is a particular sickness memory that was inherited. So this was inherited from your mum. So, and then we have a trapped emotion behind it. So there's actually a lot in this batch. And the trapped emotion is crying. And crying usually comes up when we had an urge to cry, which we didn't follow through on at one point in our lives. So we can release this. That's released. So we're now releasing this miasm from your mum. That's released. We are correcting the T2 vertebra misalignment. That's done. And now we can correct the T8 vertebra. That's done too. We're releasing the virus energy. That's released. And the magnetic field deficiency that we started with is no longer there. That's being dealt with through the other stuff that we've done. Okay, so can we go on? We can go on. So we can do another batch. Okay, so what else can we do to help Paul with the pain in his right knee. It's a misalignment. Okay, this is some connective tissue. It's a ligament. We don't actually need to know the location of the ligament, but there's a ligament in the body that is misaligned. Behind that, we have an energy. So this is an offensive energy. So Paul, this is actually a curse. We don't need to know the D. Sometimes we need to know when it was and who put the curse on you, but we don't need that at this moment. Usually it's somebody who just had a very negative thought towards you at some moment. Okay, let's see what's behind the curse. Okay, we're back in the lifestyle section, so let's see what's there. It's a sleep imbalance. How's your sleep?
On and off.
Okay.
Last night particularly bad.
Okay. And a trapped emotion behind that. This is wishy-washy. You know what that is?
No.
Sort of where you, when you know what you should be doing or saying or standing up for, and you don't find voice for it. So we're going to release that. That's released. Okay, now we're going to reset the sleep cycle. That is reset. We're going to release this curse. That's done, and we can correct the ligament that's misaligned. That's done. Now when I ask, is it okay to continue, I get a no, and that tells us that we've done what your body is able to take on at one, this first time. It's not bad for the first session, but I know you do a lot of energy related work anyway, so it's probably not surprising from your perspective. Yep. So now the big question is, well, two questions. One, I noticed you were not only closing your eyes, but your head was really going forward. What was going on there?
I was going into what I can only consider was like a trance state.
Yeah. That's interesting. Good. Now, but the really big question is, can you just get up again and walk around and tell me what's happening?
Not so much pain going up. Squat a little bit deeper. Still some residual pain there. It's not gone entirely, but it was better than when I stood up 15 minutes ago.
Okay. So when you stood up before, it was a 7 getting up and a 4 or 5. What is it now?
I would say, let me sit down and get up again. Maybe a 4.
Okay. And walking around?
2.
Okay, that's good. It's quite a good drop. And can you bend? sorry to get you moving again, but
well, I wasn't able to do that this morning. There's still some pain, but not as much as it was this morning.
Okay. With less pain. Okay, so a number of things could happen after this. Either the pain could go on improving. That sometimes happens. So, this is the start of the process. The pain, just carries on its journey because we've started the healing process, especially with this thing released. What was it? Not trusting the healing power of your body. That might unlock the healing of your body, but power of your body to work a bit more. Another thing that could happen, though, is that it gets worse again. That's sometimes quite common, especially if it's more long-standing pain.
Yep.
And the reason is because, after months or years of a particular pain, the system is weakened. So we get a quick result, but it's not a deep result. and so it doesn't last very long. It's just an indication that we need to do more work.
Yeah.
Or it could stay about the same, and we need to do more work to get it further. It might also happen that you get, it doesn't happen for many people. They say about 20% of people. In my experience, it's actually less than that. But it could be that, you have processing symptoms after work like this for a couple of hours or a couple of days, where you might feel that things intensify for a while, or you become a little irritable, or other symptoms that you have had exacerbate for a short time. It's just the way that your body processes the work. There's a small chance of that happening, but yeah. So there you are, Paul. How was that experience?
It was different, Guy. I came into it totally open-minded. So I'm willing to see how it goes. But there was definitely a change in the knee.
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining me for this.
Not a problem at all. It was, thank you for the invitation. Something we've spoken about for several months now.
Yeah. No, so I'm glad we've made it happen. Thank you, Paul.
No problem at all.